So guys, I hope you remember that I told you. I hope you remember that I told you that we will be, talking about this topic called leg, ankle, and foot. And what we have done is we have divided leg, ankle, and foot into three parts. One was anatomy, as you remember. The second one is pediatric deformity, which we have finished, and the third we will be talking about trauma. Now, in this trauma we will discuss certain fractures. We will hold on, we will discuss certain fractures. You have to give me a moment. We'll continue. So as I said that we have divided leg, ankle, and foot into three parts. Okay, so we have divided leg, ankle, and foot into three parts. On one side we have anatomy, on another side we have the pediatric deformity, the third side we have the trauma. So we have already spoken about the anatomy, we have already spoken about the pediatric deformity. Then now I think we can talk about the trauma. ठीक है जी, तो अभी जो है हम लोग बात कर सकते हैं trauma के बारे में. So let's discuss trauma. Now in trauma I am going to teach you certain fractures. Okay, in trauma, I repeat, I am going to teach you certain fractures. Now these fractures, listen to me carefully, these fractures are basically eponymous fracture. What are eponymous fracture? Eponymous fractures are the same fractures that we discussed in spine today. You remember that we have discussed in spine, bumper, hangman, Jefferson, Clay Shoveler, all that thing. So now let's talk about these fractures. The first fracture that we are going to discuss today is what is called as bumper fracture. Okay, the first fracture that we are going to discuss today, bumper fracture. Now think about it. Bumper fracture will be because of what? Bumper of a car. Okay, bumper fracture, see, name itself explains everything. Bumper fracture will be because of bumper of a car. Now my simple question to you that when a car bumper is going to hit you, it is going to hit you on which aspect of knee? Outer aspect or inner aspect? I'm asking you a very simple question. When the bumper of a car is going to hit you, it is going to hit you on which aspect of knee? Outer aspect or inner aspect? Of course outer aspect. गाड़ी वाला अंदर से आके थोड़ी ना मारेगा यार. A car driver is not going to tell you, that open your leg, I will come from inside. No, he is basically going to hit you from the outer aspect. Now what is this? Femur. What is this? Tibia. What is this? Fibula. What is this? Lateral. What is this? Medial. So obviously this is the lateral tibial condyle. Now listen, in average sedan car, bumper will reach at the level of your knee joint, will reach at the level of your tibial condyle, will reach at the level of the lateral tibial condyle. Why? Because the car is going to hit you from outside. So what you are looking at right now, take a look everyone, what you are looking at right now is called as bumper fracture. So fracture of lateral tibial condyle is what is called as bumper fracture. Now those who don't know, let me tell you, there is a small bony prominence here. Now this small bony prominence is what is called as tibial spine, and yesterday in the topic of knee I categorically remember I told you that there is a ligament which goes and gets inserted onto the tibial spine, and this ligament is what is called as anterior cruciate ligament. Now listen to me, sometimes what happens, the car comes at a very high speed. Listen to me, what happens, sometimes the car comes at a very high speed. Now when the car comes at a very high speed, then this fracture of the lateral tibial condyle can actually extend into tibial spine, leading to fracture of the tibial spine, and along with fracture of the tibial spine can lead to tear of ACL ligament. And it is at that point of time that this bumper fracture, will be what will be called as, come on, speak up everyone, Seagon's fracture. It is at that point of time this bumper fracture will become Seagon fracture. So just a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle is called as bumper fracture, but when that fracture extends into tibial spine, it becomes Seagon fracture. I hope it makes some sense to you. Third fracture, toddler fracture. Now toddler fracture is basically seen in toddler. Toddler fracture is basically seen in toddlers. Now when I say toddler, what do you mean? What do you mean by toddler? Children who are less than 3 years of age. Toddler literally means children who are less than 3 years of age. Now, why do you see this fracture? You see this fracture basically because of the accidental fall. You see this fracture basically because of the accidental fall. Now this is a spiral fracture usually, which is a hairline fracture usually, and it is seen in a bone like tibia. So please try to understand that kids who are less than 3 years of age, kids who are less than 3 years of age, if they have an accidental fall, then they are prone to develop very minute hairline fractures of the tibial shaft. And I don't know whether you want this or not, but I can show you a hairline crack. Although this hairline crack can never be asked from you in any of the entrance exam. Okay, I give you my word. I give you my word today. These hairline fractures can never ever be asked from you in any of your entrance exam ever. But still, if you want to see, then this is what is basically a hairline cracks which looks like. Okay, so this is how a hairline crack looks like. ठीक है, तो ये वो हेयरलाइन क्रैक है जो मैंने आपको दिखाया है यहाँ पे. सो दिस इज बेसिकली चाइल्डहुड एक्सीडेंटल इट इज सीन इन चिल्ड्रन ड्यू टू एक्सीडेंटल फॉल. इट्स अ स्पाइरल फ्रैक्चर, इट्स अ हेयरलाइन फ्रैक्चर, इट इज सीन इन टिबिया. दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज toddler's fracture. Now toddler fracture is also what is called as cast fracture, and today I will tell you why it is called cast fracture. C children, A accidental, S spiral, T tibial. Therefore the answer is cast fracture. Therefore the answer is cast fracture. So this is basically the fundamental here, toddler fracture, or also what is called as cast fracture. Done everyone? Yes or no? I hope yes. Now moving, okay, cast fracture is not a standard authentic textbook term, mind you. Cast fracture is not a standard authentic textbook term, mind you. It is just a random imagination of somebody. So there is no standard term. Now let's talk about the fourth fracture here called runner fracture. See, everything depends upon the name. Bumper fracture is due to bumper of a car. Toddler fracture is seen in toddler. Then runner fracture will be seen in runner. But basically which runners? Basically which runner, by the way? Unaccustomed runners. Which runner, by the way? Unaccustomed runner who have nothing to do with running at all. Okay, so runner fracture is basically seen in unaccustomed runners who actually have nothing to do with running at all. A husband woke up in the morning at 5 a.m. on Sunday. Wife also woke up and she said, darling, where are you going? Husband said, darling, I'm going for a half marathon. My friend has given my name also. She said, even for 200 meters, you go to the market to buy vegetables on your car and you're going for a bloody half marathon. He said, darling, Sunday, fashion, Instagram story, yo. Exactly 8:30, he called his wife again. He said, darling, I'm in this hospital. I've got a plaster applied. There's a minor crack in my leg bone. Can you please come and pick me up? Because of unaccustomed running, he developed a spiral hairline fracture of the distal fibula. Because of the unaccustomed running, he developed a spiral hairline fracture of the distal fibula. That is what is called as runner's fracture. Similarly, spiral hairline fracture of the distal tibia, that is what is called as toddler fracture. So you have a toddler fracture, which is here. You have a runner fracture, which is over there. I hope it makes some sense to all of you. I hope it makes some sense to all of you. Yes or no? Yes. Now we can take you one step further. I'll tell you how. This bony prominence, take a look everyone. This bony prominence here is what is called as medial malleolus. This bony prominence here is what is called as lateral malleolus. And this bony prominence here, many people don't know about it, but this is called as posterior malleolus. So technically posterior malleolus is a part of tibia only. Okay, so technically posterior malleolus is basically a part of tibia only. Done everyone? Posterior malleolus is basically a part of tibia only. Now what I'm trying to tell you is that if you have a medial malleolus fracture, okay, MM medial malleolus, LM lateral malleolus, PM posterior malleolus. If you have a medial malleolus fracture, listen to me, if you have a medial malleolus fracture or you have a lateral malleolus fracture, if you have both of them, then I would prefer to call it Pott's fracture. then I would prefer to call it Pott's fracture. So Pott's fracture is basically okay, second, it's not second. Okay, I'll repeat it, don't worry, but first listen to this. Pott's fracture is basically bimalleolar fracture ankle. Pott's fracture is basically bimalleolar fracture ankle, which includes medial malleolus plus lateral malleolus. Alright, it includes medial malleolus plus lateral malleolus. Now after Pott's fracture, we have the next fracture here, the sixth fracture here, called as Cotton's fracture. What do you mean by Cotton's fracture? Cotton's fracture is basically trimalleolar fracture ankle. Now in trimalleolar fracture ankle, it is MM plus LM plus PM fracture. So if MMLM Pott's, if MMLM PM, Cotton's. Now we move over to the seventh fracture. This seventh fracture is basically what is called as PILON, Pilon's fracture. Alright, seventh fracture, what you are looking at here is what is called as PILON, Pilon's fracture. I'll tell you about Pilon's fracture. This is the distal tibial articular surface. I hope you all can see that. Okay, this is the distal tibial articular surface. I'm sure you all can see this distal tibial articular surface. Now this distal tibial articular surface is what is called as plafond. Can you see that? So this distal tibial articular surface is basically what you call as plafond. The distal tibial articular surface is given a name in anatomy called as plafond. So if you have a fracture of this plafond, can you see? Can you see that? If you have a fracture of this plafond and that is associated with comminution of the distal metaphysis, you know, that is associated with chura of the distal metaphysis, we call it Pilon's fracture. So this is fracture of tibial plafond plus metaphyseal comminution. Are these 7 fractures clear to all of us? Tell me everyone, yes or no. Now somebody wanted to revise, you know, second with me. See, you have to understand just one thing, that here in the prominence of tibia we have a small bony prominence called as tibial spine. How is tibial spine important? Because a ligament comes and gets inserted onto the tibial spine. That ligament is called ACL. If there is just a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle, we call it bumper fracture. But if that fracture of the lateral tibial condyle extends into the tibial spine, fracturing the tibial spine along with ACL tear, then this whole thing becomes C1 fracture. Abhi samajh mein aaya ki nahi? So if you have just a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle, we call it bumper. But if that fracture extends into tibial spine with ACL tear, then it becomes C1. Are these 7 fractures clear to all of us? Tell me yes or no. I hope yes. So immediately come to page number 64. Everyone, come to page number 64 and please write this. Now please make this correction. It is less than 3 years. Done? Chali. So this is what we have discussed till now. Alright. So this is what we have discussed till now. Now we will take one step further. Now one step further, we have to talk about, see, we have discussed till 7 fractures. Now we will discuss fracture number 8 and onwards. Okay? Now we will discuss fracture number 8 and onwards. Now listen to me everyone very carefully. I will teach you about fracture number 8 and fracture number 9, but I want your focus. See boss, one thing is for sure, you know, one thing is absolutely for sure, that you're looking at an X-ray of the foot. There is no confusion at all. You are looking at the X-ray of the foot. So this is the first metatarsal, this is the second metatarsal, this is the third metatarsal, this is the fourth metatarsal, this is the fifth metatarsal. Okay, now what you are looking at right now is the base of the fifth metatarsal. Do you agree? Yeah, you agree. In this base of fifth metatarsal, I want to tell you something very important for all of you. This is called as the tuberosity or the tubercle at the base of the fifth metatarsal. Why this tuberosity or tubercle is very famous? Because a tendon goes and gets inserted here. because a tendon goes and gets inserted here. By the way, this tendon is what is called as a tendon of peroneus brevis. Now what you are looking at right now is epiphysis, what you are looking at right now is metaphysis, what you are looking at right now is diaphysis. I hope it's clear to you. Now I want you people to see this fracture here. Now I want you people to see this fracture here. This fracture, what you are looking at right now, this fracture, what you are looking at right now is a fracture of the fifth metatarsal. Yes. Base of the fifth metatarsal. Yes. At the metaphysio-diaphyseal junction. Yes. Do you get this? Do you get this or not? So my dear students, you are looking at the fracture of the fifth metatarsal. Yes. At the base of the fifth metatarsal. Yes. At the metaphysio-diaphyseal junction. Yes. You are talking about which fracture? You are talking about Jones fracture. You're talking about which fracture? Come on, speak up. You're talking about Jones fracture. When I was preparing like you, I used to remember it like this, JMD5. I used to remember it like this, JMD5. Jones, metaphysio-diaphyseal junction, fifth metatarsal base. Is Jones fracture clear to you? Now I will show you pseudo-Jones fracture. But before pseudo-Jones fracture, again, are we talking about the 5 metatarsals here? Yes. Are we talking about the fifth metatarsal here? Yes. Are we talking about the base of the fifth metatarsal here? Yes. Now in this base of the fifth metatarsal, what is this area? Metaphysis. What is this area? Diaphysis. If I would have drawn a fracture line here, you would have said very clearly, sir, Jones fracture. Now I have a fracture line which is slightly proximal, and basically this fracture line is involving this tuberosity or tubercle at the base of the fifth metatarsal. And I want to tell you something very important and interesting, that there is a tendon which goes and gets inserted. There is a tendon which goes and gets inserted over there. That tendon is what is called as peroneus brevis. Now listen to me very carefully. Somebody is dancing in a high heel shoe, pencil heel shoe. The heel chips off. The foot goes into adduction inversion. There's a twisting injury to foot. Somebody is playing tennis and wants to pick up a shot. But while pick up a shot, the foot goes into adduction inversion, twisting injury. So whenever there is a twisting injury to the foot, whether that is during dancing or picking up a tennis shot, it is possible that this tendon called peroneus brevis can go into violent contraction. Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me, everyone? It is quite possible that this tendon called peroneus brevis can go into violent contraction. And when this tendon called peroneus brevis goes into violent contraction, it can lead to avulsion of tuberosity also at the base of the fifth metatarsal. And in that scenario, this fracture will be what will be called as, this fracture will be what will be called as tennis fracture. This fracture which will be what will be called as dancer's fracture. This fracture what will be called as, come on, speak up everyone, pseudo-Jones fracture. So what I want you people to understand is that P for pseudo-Jones fracture is due to P for pull off, P for peroneus brevis leading to a fracture line which is slightly P for proximal to Jones. Are we able to understand this, everyone? Yes or no? Are we able to understand this, everyone? Yes or no? So P for pseudo-Jones fracture is P for pull-off, P for peroneus brevis, P for proximal to Jones fracture. So Jones and pseudo-Jones, are these two fractures clear to all of you? Yes or no? So this was your fracture number 8. This was your fracture number 9. And now let's talk about the fracture number 10. March fracture. See, first of all, please try to understand March fracture has nothing to do with the month of March. Please try to understand, everybody. March fracture has nothing to do with the month of the March. March fracture is basically seen in fresh young army recruits. You know, a decent boy, 20-year-old boy who has just entered into the training academy for army, and every morning, evening, night he has been asked to do 1 2 1 2 1 2 march past activity. Last 15 days he has been doing 5 kilometers each day. Then one day he calls his parents and he says that I'm having pain in my foot for last 2 days. They request that you get an x-ray done. He gets an x-ray done, and in that x-ray, oh my god, he has an MCQ. Due to prolonged march past activity, this young boy has developed a stress fracture in the second metatarsal in the neck, and that is what is called as March fracture. The 11th fracture that we have here is what is called as jumper's fracture. 11th fracture that we have here is called as jumper's fracture. See, the name itself explains everything, right? Bumper, due to bumper. Toddler, in toddler. Runner, due to overrunner. Jumper, due to jumping. Now when I say jumping, what does that mean? That simply means fall from height. Listen to me carefully. When I say jumper fracture simply means what? Come on, speak up. Fall from height. Now when I say fall from height, when I say fall from height, what does that mean? Listen to me. When I say fall from height, what does that mean? I'll tell you. Fall from height means only one thing. That somebody had a fall from height, and that somebody landed on the ground on the buttocks. Okay, somebody had a fall from height, and that somebody landed on the ground on the buttocks. Okay, ji? Now that somebody landed on the ground on the buttocks, and when that person landed on the buttocks, that person landed on the ground on both the buttocks. You have to understand it like this. That person landed on the ground on both the buttocks. Okay, now this is the right buttock, this is the left buttock. So body weight went down, yes. Ground reaction force went up, yes. But when this ground reaction force went up, it actually got into the center. And right ground reaction force broke right side of sacrum, left ground reaction force broke left side of sacrum. They shook hands in the middle of it, and eventually you develop this H-shaped fracture of sacrum. Eventually you developed this, I repeat, H. I'm saying H. You developed H-shaped sacral fracture, and this H-shaped sacral fracture is what is called as, come on, speak up everyone, jumper's fracture. Done, everyone? After jumper fracture, I can show you 12th fracture, which is lower fracture, also called as Don Juan's fracture. 12th fracture is lower's fracture, also called as Don Juan fracture. See, first of all, I want to tell you that why it is called Don Juan fracture, because Don Juan was the name of the person who had this fracture. Are you understanding this? Don Juan was the name of the person who had this fracture, and it is also called as lower fracture. I'll tell you why. I called Don Juan. I said, Don Juan, I'm sorry to hear that you had a fracture. He said, yes, sir. I said, it is called lower fracture. Why? He said, sir, because I am the lover. He said, sir, because I am the lover. I said, if you are the lover. I said, sir, if you are the lover, it's okay. You are the lover, that's no problem. I said, but if you are the lover, then how did you have this fracture? He said, sir, I had gone to meet my lover on the 3rd floor of the building. And meanwhile, the husband of my lover, the spouse of my lover came into the scene. Sir, I had no other option except to jump from there. And sir, when I jumped from the 3rd floor, and I said, when I jumped from the 3rd floor, I landed on the ground on my heels. He said, sir, when I jumped from the 3rd floor, I landed on the ground on my heels. And basically, when my heels struck the ground, I had bilateral interarticular calcaneal fracture. I'm sure you all can see that as well. I'm sure you all can see that as well. So you all can see, you all can see here, you all can see bilateral calcaneal fracture here. You all can see bilateral calcaneal fracture here, lower fracture, Don Juan fracture. Moving over to the 3rd fracture, straddle fracture. Moving over to the 3rd fracture, straddle fracture. Now, what do you mean by straddle fracture? Think about it. What do you mean by straddle fracture? I will tell you what do you mean by straddle fracture. So, listen to me. There is a very sharp staircase, uneven staircase, and one has to be very careful. But this boy here, Chintu, he's a 16-year-old boy. He said, uncle, I will not climb stairs one by one. I will hop on these stairs. Some people have a habit of hopping stairs, like 1, 3, 5, 7. They climb alternate stairs. And suddenly, when he was climbing stairs, suddenly I could hear him saying, ah. I said, Chintu, what happened? Chintu said, uncle, I fell down. Guys, just listen to this and imagine in your head, even you will feel the pain. Chintu had the fall on the stair when he fell on his symphysis pubis on the pointed edge of a stair. Chintu fell on his symphysis pubis. Chintu fell on his symphysis pubis on the pointed edge of a stair. I repeat, Chintu fell on the pointed edge of a stair on his symphysis pubis. So technically, entire body weight went down. Yes. Ground reaction force went up. Yes. How? Ground reaction force went up like this. Just take a look. Just take a look. Ground reaction force went up like this. Can you see that? Of course. Ground reaction force went up to what? Ground reaction force went up to what? Ground reaction force went up to symphysis pubis. First of all, ground reaction force went up to symphysis pubis. What was there in the symphysis pubis? There was a symphyseal cartilage. So ground reaction force went to symphysis pubis and said, hello symphysis pubis, I am ground reaction force. If you can please, open the pelvis, we can go inside and give rise to an open book fracture. Symphysis pubis said that I belong to Chintu, but I am not Chintu. Symphysis pubis is so strong that ground reaction force, you can't come inside. Ground reaction force said, but I have come here, I will do something. Ground reaction force said, I will do something. Symphysis pubis said, okay, fine. What you can do is that Chintu on both the sides has inferior and superior pubic rami. You can break all of them. So Chintu sustained bilateral. Chintu sustained bilateral superior and inferior pubic rami fracture. Chintu sustained bilateral superior inferior pubic rami fracture. Chintu की चारों रमाई चले गए. Chintu नॉर्मल जमीन पे भी टांगे जोड़ के चलता है. So this is basically straddle injury, and you can see a straddle injury. You can see a straddle injury as in when you are missing a step. You can see a straddle injury. Please try to understand. You can see a straddle injury whenever you are missing a step. Whenever you are stumbling over a wire, whenever you are stumbling over a carpet. मेरा बात समझ में आया क्या? Whenever you are stumbling over a wire or a carpet, you see straddle injury. 14th fracture, to be very honest, I don't have anything to teach you here. Just I can tell you the name. It is called as Duvernay's fracture. And it is a crescent shaped fracture of the iliac wing. Yes, they have a good healing rate. It's a crescent fracture of the iliac wing. Alright, so in Duvernay fracture, there is nothing much for me to tell you except just one fact, that it's a crescent shaped fracture of the iliac wing. Alright, so it's a crescent shaped fracture of the iliac wing that is called as Duvernay's fracture. Now let's talk about aviator's fracture. Guys, there is a red alert. They are getting this message, so they're going to do some mesh work now and they're going to pull up the Wi-Fi fiber. Just hold on. बोलो 5 मिनट रुक जाए. 5 मिनट रुक जाए. एक टॉपिक है वो खत्म कर लेते. 5 मिनट. So now let's talk about aviator's fracture. Now in aviator's fracture, listen to me. In aviator's fracture, you are looking at this bone called tibia. Here you are looking at a bone called as calcaneum. Here you are looking at a bone called as navicular, and there is this bone called as talus. Now before I go further, I want you to remember something. I want you to revise something. Do you remember any time me telling you that there are certain bones which have not got a anterograde but rather retrograde blood supply? Do you remember me telling you? What are these 4 bones which have got a retrograde blood supply? Talus, head of femur, scaphoid and patella. So retrograde blood supply is basically seen in all these 4 bones. Now, if I want to show you the parts of talus, I can show you one thing for sure, that this is called as body of talus. This is called as head of talus. Yes, it is not head, it is body. Many people think it is head. No. This is body, this is head. And what is broken here is basically neck. So this is the fracture of neck of talus. So aviator fracture is basically nothing but fracture of neck of talus. Aviator fracture is basically fracture of, wow, Amrita remembers, fracture of neck of talus. Now in this fracture, believe me, the most common complication is, in this fracture, the most common complication is subtalar arthritis. Why I'm teaching you this? Because many a times, many a times I've seen people giving the answer as avascular necrosis, which is absolutely wrong. It is subtalar arthritis. Many times I've seen people giving answer as AVN, because many guidebooks have taught AVN. No, most common complication is not avascular necrosis, it is subtalar arthritis. And now I want to tell you that 400 years ago, tibia was like this, talus was like this. Today tibia is like this and talus is like this. In 400 years, because of a prolonged habitual squatting posture. See, please try to understand. Today I'm sitting on a chair. Hopefully most of you are sitting on a chair as well. So today if two people want to have a conversation with each other, how can they do that? You can sit on a chair, sofa, cushion, couch, and you can have a conversation. But 400 years ago, there were no sofas and cushions and couches and chairs. So 400 years ago, they had, if two people had to have a conversation, they had only three options. A, you can stand and talk, you get tired. You get tired. The second option was that you can lie down and have a conversation. Who bloody talks after lying down? The third option was always the same, that okay, you squat, I squat. The third option was very simple, that you squat, I squat. Okay, you also squat, I also squat. So they used to squat. Everybody used to squat. Even today, if you go to villages, if you go to rural India, you see a lot of people sitting in a squatting posture. So when people squat, what happens is that there are a lot of pressure changes that happen in this bone called as talus, and it is because of the pressure changes due to prolonged habitual squatting posture that talus developed certain facets in the anatomy of the bone, and therefore these facets are what are called as, come on, speak up, these facets are what are called as squatting facets. These facets are called as squatting facets. So this is about aviator fracture. Now I want to teach you about 16th fracture. Maybe I can use this space. 16th fracture is Lisfranc's fracture. Okay, 16th fracture is Lisfranc fracture. I don't know whether you remember this or not, but in anatomy of leg, ankle and foot, if in anatomy in leg, ankle and foot, I told you one thing very categorically clear, that Lisfranc joint is nothing but tarso-metatarsal joint, and anything happening at TMT will be given the name of Lisfranc. So tarso-metatarsal joint fracture dislocation is Lisfranc fracture. Similarly, I hope you remember that I mentioned about Chopard joint. Anything happening at intertarsal joint will be given the name of Chopard. And I want to tell you one more fracture here called as nutcracker fracture. So this is fracture of this bone called as cuboid. Now I want to tell you about condition number 19 here as well, which is called as O'Donoghue unhappy triad. Believe me, it is a very important triad of sports medicine. O'Donoghue's unhappy triad, believe me, is a very important triad of sports medicine. The prognosis in this unhappy triad is actually very poor because it contains injury to three ligaments together, which is ACL plus MCL plus MM. So this is the worst injury. Listen to me everyone. This is the worst injury that can happen to someone's knee. This injury is basically an injury of all the three ligaments together, that is ACL, MCL and MM. Okay, ACL, MCL and MM, injury to all the three ligaments together at same point of time is called as O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. And now I will show you fracture number 20. Called as Hoffa's fracture. Listen to me very carefully. I will show you the femur condyle in an AP view. You will look at them like this. I will show you the femoral condyle in the lateral view. You will look at them like this. Guys, if I make a fracture like this, then this will be called as sagittal plane fracture. If I show you a fracture like this, then this will be called as coronal plane fracture. This is not Hoffa's, this is Hoffa's. I'm sure you all can see that. So this was your fracture number 20, which is what is called as Hoffa's. And always remember one thing, that any question related to Hoffa's has to be related to knee or around the knee, because Hoffa's did a lot of work in knee. Okay, coronal plane fracture of the femoral condyle. Now we have to talk about fracture number 21 called as Stida fracture. Guys, do you remember medial collateral ligament? I'm sure you remember medial collateral ligament. I'm sure you remember medial collateral ligament from yesterday. I told you categorically that medial collateral ligament is coming from the medial femoral condyle and going far till medial tibial condyle. It is going from medial femoral condyle and going far till medial tibial condyle. See what has happened here in front of you. What has happened here in front of you? Very simple thing has happened here in front of you. The femoral insertion of the ligament has got avulsed. Can you see that? Can you see that, everyone? The femoral insertion of the ligament has been avulsed from the middle femoral condyle, and this fracture is what is called as Stida fracture. आप देख सकते हो, you can see the bony irregularity here. The femoral insertion of MCL, when it gets avulsed, that is called as Stida fracture. How can I say this is MCL? This is fibula. It's on the lateral side, so this has to be the medial side. So on medial side you have medial collateral ligament. This was condition number 21, Stida fracture. Last condition, condition number 22. Listen to me. Can you see a fracture here? Yes, you can. Do you think that if you will have a fracture here, this bone will bleed after the fracture? Yes, of course. When this bone will bleed, will that make a hematoma over there? Yes, it will. And when that hematoma will be there, do you think that hematoma will calcify? It will ossify? Yes, it will. Do you think that hematoma will calcify, will ossify? Yes, it will. I totally am telling you that hematoma will calcify, that hematoma will ossify, and when that hematoma will calcify, it will ossify, it will make a ectopic bony spicule, and you can clearly see that ectopic bony spicule. I will show you in one photograph, but that bony spicule which will be made will be called as Pellegrini Stida lesion. I'll show it to you. That will be called as Pellegrini Stida lesion. So you can see femur, you can see tibia, you can see fibula. You should know that this is a medial collateral ligament. So femoral insertion, medial collateral ligament, it got avulsed. When it got avulsed, it led to bleeding of the bone from here. When it led to bleeding of the bone, it made hematoma. That hematoma got ossified, that hematoma got calcified, and this ectopic bony spicule was made over there, and this is what they call as, Pellegrini Stida lesion or a Pellegrini Stida disease. Done, everyone? Yes or no? Alright, so please open your books. Yeah, so we had written till 7. No, we had written till 9. So this is clear, nothing much to write. Hoffa's fracture is nothing much to write. Yeah, Pellegrini Stida is again nothing much to write. So everything is clear. It's just that I want you to look at this. Otherwise things are pretty clear and obvious. So what you are looking at right now is an ACL tear. What you are looking at right now is an ACL tear. What you are looking at right now is an MCL tear. What you are looking at right now is a meniscal tear. What you are looking at right now is a meniscal tear. Sakshi, I don't know, I'm not that technical, but I think it is probably because of the mesh thing which is going on. They're doing something. Actually, I live in a condominium. Like, there is a proper issue of like all the flats of a tower, they have a common mesh. So there is a problem with that mesh, and they are just changing it. The fiber, they are changing it. Airtel has a monopoly here. They are just putting another mesh today of some other company, maybe Jio, or I don't know what they are doing, and they're constantly messaging me also to stop because they are going to switch off the Wi-Fi for I don't know how much time. And even here they don't allow any work to be done after 6 p.m. But since everybody is involved, so even the technical team of that company is here. Some engineer is also here. Anyhow, so somebody has asked me Hoffa's fracture definition. I'll show it to you. This is on the left hand side, what you are looking at is an AP view. On the right hand side, what you are looking at is a lateral view. Okay, on the left hand side is an AP view, on the right hand side is a lateral view. This is a fracture which is in the sagittal plane. It's not Hoffa's, this is not Hoffa's. This is Hoffa's. On the right hand side, what you're looking at right now, this is Hoffa's. So you remember sagittal plane that divides your body into equal left and right. You remember coronal plane which divides your body into an equal anterior and posterior. So Hoffa's fracture is basically the coronal plane fracture. Done, everyone? Done, everyone? Yes or no? Mechanism of injury for Jones and pseudo-Jones both is same. Twisting injury. Pseudo-Jones clinically is more common than Jones. Pseudo-Jones is clinically more common than Jones. Now very quickly answer this question. Whatever this page is, kya number hai? 67. Answer this question. Come on, quickly. Squatting facet is seen in. Answer, everyone. Squatting facet is seen in talus. Squatting facet is seen in talus, and I have already taught you that because of the prolonged habitual squatting posture adopted by mankind, bones have changed their shapes, and talus is the most common one to change its shape, and it has developed facet called squatting facet. Now, okay, now after this, I think, yeah, tumor starts. Now listen to me, everyone, listen to me. Many people, they ask me a question that, sir, I have revised all these fractures so many times, but still I'm not able to recall and blah blah and blah blah. Now listen, everyone. Jefferson, Hangman, Clay Schaubler, Chance, Clay Schaubler, Chance, Undertaker. So if you remember these expressions and anecdotes, you will be able to remember the spine eponymous fracture. As far as, just 2 minutes, please. As far as fractures of the lower extremity are concerned, there is only one way to remember them. Make a lot of mind maps, make a lot of line diagrams. Okay, now listen, everyone. If I give you a sacrum like this, and if I show you a fracture like this, you will call it jumper fracture. But if I give you an iliac wing like this, and if I show you a fracture like this is called as Duvernay fracture. If I show you the 4 pubic rami, and if I show you a fracture like this is called as straddle fracture. If I show you the femoral condyle in the lateral view, and if I show you a fracture like this is called as Hoffa's fracture. If I show you the entire bony structure here, if I show you the entire bony structure, isko bana bhi lete hain. If I show you the entire bony structure here, like this, I'll tell you how. If there is a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle, it is what is called as bumper fracture. Can you see that? If there is a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle, it is called as bumper's fracture. If there is a fracture of the lateral tibial condyle extending into tibial spine with ACL tear, we are going to call it Seagon's fracture. There is a medial collateral ligament. Okay, there is a medial collateral ligament. If it is avulsed from here, we call it Steeda's fracture. If there is a bleeding from there and that hematoma becomes ossified and calcified, then there is an ectopic bony spicule over there, then that is what is called as Pellegrini-Steeda disease. If there is an injury to ACL, if there is an injury to medial meniscus, and if there is an injury to MCL, that is what is called as O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. कहाँ तक सुना था आप लोगों ने? So I was telling you that if this is the medial collateral ligament and if the femoral insertion gets avulsed, we call it Steeda fracture. If it leads to ectopic bony spicule formation, we call it Pellegrini-Steeda disease. If there is ACL tear with MM tear with MCL tear, we call it O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. Okay, O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. Ninth is O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. Fourth is Hoffa's. Fourth is Hoffa's. Fifth is Bumper. Fifth is Bumper. Sixth is Seagond. Seventh is Stida. Eighth is Pellegrini Stida. Ninth is O'Donoghue. Ninth is O'Donoghue. Okay, injury to ACL plus MCL plus MM. That is O'Donoghue's unhappy triad. Now, if you have a fracture of the medial malleolus and lateral malleolus, we are going to call it POTS. If an associated medial malleolus is there, we are going to call it Cottons. Okay, so then we are going to call it Cottons. If you have a fracture here with distal tibial articular surface combination, then we are going to call it Pilon's fracture, Pilon. If we have a spiral hairline fracture here, we are going to call it Toddler's. We are going to call it toddler, which will be fracture number 13. If there is a spiral hairline fracture of the distal fibula, we are going to call it runners. Spiral hairline fracture of the distal fibula, we are going to call it runners. Now, if I show you the bones here, talus and calcaneum and navicular and cuboid and 3 cuneiforms, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5th. Now, if I show you a fracture of the neck of the talus, that is fracture number 15, that is called as aviator. If I show you a fracture of the calcaneum, that is basically lovers. If I show you a fracture of the cuboid, that is fracture number 17, that is called as nutcracker fracture. If I show you a fracture here, that will be fracture number 18, that will be basically Lisfranc. If I show you a fracture here, this will be fracture number 19, basically called as Chopard. If I show you a fracture here, then that will be basically stress fracture of the neck of the second metatarsal called March. If I show you a fracture here in the tuberosity, that will be fracture number 21 called as Pseudo-Jones. If I show you at metaphysio-diaphyseal junction, that will be called as Jones. So the purpose of just scribbling something in front of you, I've just scribbled something. मुझे भी नहीं पता मैंने क्या किया. But I can tell you one thing, that whatever I've done, whatever I've done here is just to give you an idea that you can remember, revise and retain. You can remember, revise and retain these fractures only once you make these line diagrams. I call them as mind maps, because when I make them, I make a map in my mind, and that helps me to develop a reflex to solve an MCQ. Done everyone? Yes or no?